Being a Christian woman and walking in God's calling for our lives can be a difficult task. With the world and pop culture telling us to be one way, and the Bible saying another, you kind of end up feeling like an other. Well, you're not alone. Join me, Mal, and my friends as we navigate life in our 20s and 30s, while making sure we live out our faith, embrace our femininity, and looking cute. We discuss pop culture, life, careers, relationships, and so much more. Prepare to be entertained and educated. I know you're going to love it. Join our movement and embrace being another girl. The views expressed on this podcast are our own and do not reflect our employers. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. You are listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm Mallory, and we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode. I'm super excited to have Christina Bennett on. You guys know her already. You love her. And I'm just excited about this episode. For those that do not know, Christina Bennett is a pro-life activist. She works with live action, and she is really on the front line. She's been doing this. How many years have you been doing this?
2005, I moved to Washington, D.C. to do pro-life work. And so
almost 20.
Almost 20 years.
Wow.
Almost 20 years, yeah.
So she's like a veteran, and she's one of the few people I know personally that I can say truly cares about the woman and the baby, that truly wants to make a difference. And sometimes, anyway, I won't get into what's going on in the movement, but I'm very excited to have Christina on and for us to talk a little bit about what has been going on right now. I know that recently there was a Supreme Court case, and I'm going to read the ruling, and it has to deal with the abortion pill. And I know some people are kind of confused about what's going on and everything. I really wanted to talk about what exactly is the abortion pill, and then how regulations for the FDA have changed, and then kind of like what's next. Because as you guys know, by the time this episode will come out, it'll be almost the 2-year anniversary of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So we know, we talked about this 2 years ago, that every single abortion clinic was not shut down. They didn't burn all the pills. There aren't people. There's still abortion. The point is that there's still abortion going on, and we just need to figure out what are we supposed to do next. What are some things that we can do? So without further ado, let's get started. Oh, actually, Christina, do you want to talk a little bit about like who you are for people who don't know? I mean, she's been on podcasts before, but tell us a little bit about who you are really quick.
Sure. Thank you, Mallory. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course.
As Mallory shared, my name is Christina Bennett, and I work for Live Action as a news correspondent. In the past, I worked for a pregnancy center for 4 years as a client service manager, and I also worked for a conservative organization called the Family Institute of Connecticut, and where I was mostly fighting for pregnancy centers and against assisted suicide and other things that are trying to take place in my home state of Connecticut. But I got involved in pro-life work in my 20s after finding out that my mom walked out of an abortion appointment with me at Mount Sinai Hospital in Hartford, Connecticut. So she was minutes away from aborting me, and a janitor talked to her and said, if you want to have this baby, God will give you the strength. And she walked out. And in college, I discovered that it was a secret, and I discovered it, and it changed the course of my life. And shortly after that, I began doing pro-life work. And now I am married. I have a family, and we live in Connecticut. My husband and I are ministers at our church, and he's very pro-life as well. So for all the ladies who are out there, or the men who are waiting, make sure that the person that you partner with is pro-life. And we're actually celebrating our 10-year anniversary this week. So that's very exciting.
Exciting. That's beautiful. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
So let's get started. The case that came up, and it actually happened at the beginning of the week, was FDA versus the Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine. So the ruling was, and this is from NPR, it was by unanimous vote, the court said that anti-abortion doctors who brought the challenge had failed to show they had been harmed, as they did not prescribe the medicine and thus essentially had no skin in the game. The court said the challengers, a group called Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine, had no right to be in court at all, since neither the organization nor its members could show they had suffered any concrete injury. So this was the ruling, and there's a lot of what's going on with it. I will link some articles. ADF was actually the Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine's attorneys. ADF was the one, their attorneys. And I will link some articles about that so you guys can learn a little bit more about what exactly went on behind the scenes, the ruling and everything. But what I really want to talk about is, why is the abortion pill such a big thing? If you have been paying attention, DNC abortions, where they rip the baby out of the mother's stomach, those have gone down, sure, but the abortion pill has skyrocketed in many of the states. And especially if a state has a heartbeat bill or has a 12-week ban or something like that, the abortion pill has skyrocketed. And that is our next fight. So I kind of just wanted to talk a little bit about that and about some of how the FDA has changed. So Christina, can you kind of explain what the abortion pill is?
Sure, absolutely. And I want to comment too on the article that you shared, because I think it was probably NPR. Was it NPR that you shared?
Yeah, it was NPR.
And they said a line in describing, so they said a sentence describing the court case, and they said that the doctors, didn't have a right to be there. And the doctors were exposing the reality of what happens with the abortion pill, and how often women who take the abortion pill then have to go to an emergency room and see a doctor after fetal remains have been left inside of them, or they've become sick somehow as a result of taking the abortion pill. And so I think it's very important that the doctors shared these stories. And even though the court ruled that they didn't have standing, we know that they're representing the voices of so many women whose voices are not really heard. And so I wanted to share that.
That's good.
Also, when it comes to the abortion pill, there are two pills. It's very important for people to know this. There's two pills. And so the first pill is called mifepristone. Mifepristone is a pill that blocks progesterone. And so when a woman is pregnant, the fetus, the growing baby, needs progesterone as nutrients for it to continue to grow. When a woman takes the first pill, this blocks the progesterone. So basically, you could think of it like starving the baby of nutrients. The child is not allowed to grow because you're taking the first pill and you are disrupting the natural process where this child is gaining what it needs in the womb to thrive and to grow. Then they take the second pill. And the second pill, so if you are interested in just looking this up, I want to spell it for you because it can be kind of hard to just hearing it. So mifepristone is Mifepristone if you wanted to research it. And again, that is something that they take, the first pill that blocks the progesterone. And then the second one is mifepristone, and that basically causes the growing baby to be expelled from the womb. I hate to even say it. And that is Misoprostol. And I do want to say that between these pills, between taking the first pill and the second pill, there is a possibility that a life can be saved. So there is something called abortion pill reversal. Depending on where you're at, it may be something that's very controversial or it may be common. In some states, it's even put into legislation that the abortion doctors have to even tell women about the abortion pill reversal. But in states like Connecticut, the pregnancy centers who even mention abortion pill reversal are harassed by the government. So abortion pill reversal is basically a process that when progesterone is depleted from the first pill, it puts the progesterone back either through shots of progesterone or through taking progesterone pills. So if you're a woman who takes the first abortion pill and automatically you think, automatically, in the first 24 to 48 hours, you think, I regret this. I feel bad about this. I shouldn't have done this. You can call the abortion pill reversal hotline. I can get the number for you, but you can call the abortion pill reversal hotline and they will connect you to a doctor in your area. And then the doctor will provide progesterone for you. And if you take the progesterone, then you have a percentage. It is not 100% guaranteed that the child will survive, but there are multiple children that are alive today that have survived when the mom has taken the first pill and then she's gone and got progesterone, and then she's been able to carry forth her pregnancy. I actually was just in the process of helping a young woman with this. She took the first pill. It's a very tragic story. She regretted it. She ended up calling me from Planned Parenthood and told me she regretted it. So I called the abortion pill reversal with her. We got a doctor on the phone. We got the progesterone prescribed for her, but then unfortunately she was too afraid to take it. She was in an emotionally abusive relationship, and so she was afraid of her partner's response. So she continued on with the abortion. It's a very tragic story, but if she had been willing to take it, there could have been a chance for her to save the baby. So that is the abortion pill. And as you mentioned, it has become the most popular way and the most common ways for women to end the life of their children through this pill. And very many times people will say, I've heard women say, it's just a pill. I'm just going to take the pill. And so it's very normalized. You know, if you think about it, we're in a society where we take pills all the time. You know, we take the Tylenol, we take an Advil, we take Sudafed, we take all these things. And so it is being marketed like that to people. There are companies that say, oh, it's 10 times safer than Tylenol. And they lie to women, and women feel comfortable as if it's going to be an easier route, but it's not. It can be extremely painful.
Can I interject really quickly? I actually before Roe v. Wade, I watched a documentary that Vice did, and we all know Vice is definitely pro-abortion and everything. And they did like this expose or whatever, where they went across the border and they went to in Mexico, and they went to different pharmacies, and they bought abortion pills. And like at one pharmacy, it was like, you take these 2 pills, and then another pharmacy said take like 5 pills every 2 hours, and then so the thing is, it's not really regulated. That's the other thing too. Like, it's because it's so easily accessible, it is not really regulated. Things like that is so dangerous. If you ever find yourself having to go, if you feel like you're in that situation where you need that, you absolutely should call somebody. You should call a family member, a friend. Like, that is so dangerous to not only just go across the border, but just to take pills from just these, it was literally just random pharmacies like right near the border, and one would tell them take 2, another take 5, take it every hour, and that's just so dangerous. I just wanted to interject that.
You know, it really is. And I think that's a good segue into talking about how the regulations have changed over the years, because that is really something that a lot of people don't know about. Yes. They don't know about it, and it is very dangerous. So in 2011, the FDA had certain regulations regarding the abortion pill. You could not be past 7 weeks gestational age. So if you were 8 weeks pregnant, you could not take the abortion pill. You'd be the maximum was 7 weeks gestational age. In addition to that, you had to go in person and see a medical provider. You had to go in person and have the abortion pill dispensed to you. And in many cases, you would come after you took the abortion pill, and you would go back to a medical professional. So why is this important? Well, it really has to do with women's health. The abortion pill is mimicking, in some ways, a miscarriage. Of course, a miscarriage is something where naturally a woman loses a child and she has no control over it. Where the abortion pill, you're intentionally choosing to take pills that will cause the death of your child. So obviously those are 2 different things. But when a woman has a miscarriage, in my situation, I've had one before, many times you're going to go into the doctor. You don't have to do this every time, but I always recommend for women, if they can, to go in to see a doctor. And when I went in after my miscarriage, they did an ultrasound. And the reason they did an ultrasound is because they want to make sure there were no fetal remains that are left inside of your body, because you never know what could happen in a miscarriage. And so if a woman was taking the pill in 2011 and she was having it dispensed by a doctor and then going back in to see a doctor after, it's still not safe. And it's still obviously killing a child. So it's definitely not safe for the child, but there was a little bit of a higher standard than there is now. Now in 2023, it's just insanity. Not only do you not have to see a doctor.
Also, we're in 2024, not to cut you off. You said
oh my gosh.
2024. not to cut you off. When you said that, I was like, yeah. Then I was like, wait, no, I think we're doing.
No, do you know why I said that? Because this is funny how things work. So today is Juneteenth, and the day that we're recording is Juneteenth. And before I started the show, I had on my Juneteenth shirt from last year, but I changed it to my live action pro-life shirt. And I kept on looking at it all day because it was like, it says Juneteenth 2023. So I must have like got it stuck in my head. So I'm like, 2023. Good call. So in 2024, but also in 2023, and all the years since, the legislation or the regulations loosened, you can get the abortion pill without seeing a doctor. And during the pandemic, the FDA said that you could get the abortion pill through the mail, which is ridiculous. And you can be up to 10 weeks pregnant. So they said from 7 to 10, from going to see a doctor to just getting it sent out in the mail and not having to go back and see a doctor. And you can just imagine all of the different ways in which this is completely unsafe for women. First of all, when you've got people hawking the abortion pill online and through social media, and you're not seeing a doctor, they don't know if a woman's taking it who's 11 weeks pregnant or 12 weeks pregnant or 13 weeks pregnant, which is very dangerous because you're not supposed to take it, if you're that far along. And then if the pill for some reason doesn't work and she's still pregnant and she doesn't know it, because that happens at times, or if the pill does work and she loses the child, but not all the parts have come out, and then she's at a risk for infection, very dangerous. I know a young woman she's probably got the worst abortion pill related story I've ever heard. And her name is Shanice. And she shared her story at a press conference we did at the Capitol in Connecticut earlier this year called the Whole Life Women's Forum. And she shared how she took the pill and there were parts that were left inside of her. And so her body went into sepsis shock and she ended up going into a coma. And she's a young Black woman in her 20s. She went into a coma and she was hospitalized for a month in the state of Connecticut. She had to relearn how to walk. And now in her early 20s, after she's healed, after she's relearned how to walk, after she suffered a month in the hospital, she's lost her fertility. So she's infertile. And she had this abortion because a boyfriend was pressuring her that she's no longer with. So you've got one boyfriend who's pressuring her to have an abortion, and she does. And it causes a lifelong injury where now down the road, if she was to get married or even if she was to want more children, without a miracle, biologically, she would not be able to do that.
Oh,
and
wow.
That's the reality for some women that we don't hear their stories.
Yes. And I just kind of want to talk a little bit about that aspect really quick. I think that the abortion industry talks a lot about compassion and love and use a lot of these really sweet flowery words, but they really don't talk about some truth. And that story is honestly heartbreaking, from the fact that a coma, sepsis, and then now that she's infertile, and they don't share these stories. And this is the truth. This is why this pill is just so dangerous. It is dangerous for the child as well as the woman. Like, I believe like true women empowerment is telling a woman like, hey, don't do this. Like, this can seriously harms your child, and it also harms you. That is so sad. Wow. And you don't hear those stories.
It's very sad. You have to wonder how many stories are like that we have not heard. And I'm really proud of her for coming out publicly and being willing to share it on social media, and then also in the Capitol and, before legislators and elected officials need to know stories like this, because so many of them, that's all they're focused on is access. We need more access to abortion. And they don't realize what the cost is for that access. And the cost is the lives of preborn children, and also the bodies and souls of women who hurt from taking the abortion pill.
That is so true. And I just want to add one other thing. And this is kind of like a footnote to the story you just told. It's also why, ladies, is so important. Like, it is hard being single right now. I 110% get it. Trust me. But like, you really do want to make sure the man you're with is pro-life and you want to make sure that he's supportive and a Christian, like you really just don't want to date anyone. And I definitely understand how lonely it can get, but like it's better to be lonely than to, be with someone who encourages you to have an abortion and not have all these side effects and things like that. It's so important, ladies. That's just a little footnote.
No, it's really important to talk about, because when we talk about abortion, who is having abortions? By and large, it is unmarried single women in their 20s, okay? So yes, there are married women who've had abortions. Yes, there are women in their 40s who have abortions. But by and large, the largest percentage of people who are having abortions is young, single women in their 20s. And particularly, we know that women of color like ourselves are 3 times more likely to abort. And so we should be talking about this from every angle, because we know what that's like. I once was a woman in my 20s who was single. I was actually single my entire 20s. So the entire decade of my 20s, I didn't have one date at all. It wasn't until my 30s that, I met my husband. And what you said is so true, that it's better to deal with the pain of loneliness than to deal with the greater pain of facing an unplanned pregnancy, the greater pain of being tempted to have an abortion in some situations, someone having an abortion and dealing with that regret. I know for me, I face many days and nights when I just didn't know what the future would hold for me. Journaling was really helpful to me. Being in a Christian community was very helpful to me. Also, at times hurtful, because you're looking around at everybody else who's married thinking, when is it going to be my turn? But at least, you had people to pray for you and to stand with you. And holding on to hope and believing that regardless of what the statistics said, that I would have whatever God promised me. But I think especially now that the pill is being marketed as a quick fix, and people think, well, some people might think, I don't want to go into a doctor's office and sit on a table and have a surgical abortion. That's too scary for me. But if somebody can send me the pill through the mail and I'm in my own bathroom, I think I can do that. Don't be deceived into thinking that's an easy way out. It is not. There are people who shared their stories of excruciating pain, blood clots, I know a girl who told me she woke up in a pool of blood in her bed when she took the abortion pill. And there are many people trying to normalize it. There's people on TV who will say, oh, I'm taking the abortion pill. Let me show you how easy it is. And they'll swallow the pill. Whether or not they're really taking the abortion pill, who knows? But they're all trying to make it seem like it's just not a big deal. And it's a huge deal. And so it's very important to wait until marriage to be involved with sexual activity. That is the place where it is the most beneficial and the safest, really. People always talk about safe sex, but the reality is, as we all know, whether you're on birth control, whether you're using a condom, whether you have an IUD, trust me, when I worked for the pregnancy center, I met women who got pregnant in all those circumstances. They got pregnant on birth control. They got pregnant with an IUD. They got pregnant using a condom. Not to say that those tools cannot be effective in some situations, but if you are having sex, then you're always at some risk, no matter how small, for a pregnancy, because that's the way your body is made. And so if you are not wanting to risk the possibility of being pregnant, then you should not be engaged in sexual activity. And we know that there are cases, of course, where women are victims of violence and they're raped and they get pregnant, but those are less than 1% of the abortion cases. The vast majority of abortion cases are elective abortions, free will abortions, because of consensual sex, and the circumstances make it too difficult for the person to parent, whether the partner's not supportive, or they don't feel like they have the resources, or they feel like they're too young, or they don't feel like they can finish school. It's those circumstances that drive them. And so, even the last thing I'll say about that is that an abortion doesn't automatically change your circumstances. And so we're sold this lie that if you are struggling with school, for example, and you're struggling in the relationship with a boyfriend and he wants you to have the abortion. Well, you take the pill, people tell you, and then, you've got this easy way out, your problems are solved. I compare it to, when someone goes and gets drunk. You can drink, and you can be dealing with a lot of issues and go have, a night out and you're just drinking a lot of alcohol. But when you wake up, every problem is still there that you had before. The only thing that's changed is you have a headache and you have a hangover. Nothing has changed in your life because you went and got drunk and you forgot that you were, for a moment, that you were dealing with all these issues. The issues are there when you wake up. And it's even worse because now God knows what you did when you were drunk. And with an abortion, although we know, of course, it's not the same thing as getting drunk, it's much, much worse because you're killing an innocent child. But when you take the pill and you wake up the next morning, all of your issues are still there. Mm-hmm. So if you were dating someone who wanted you to take the pill, that means you're dating someone that doesn't value life. That means you're dating someone that's controlling. Perhaps he's even pressuring you. Perhaps he's coercing you. And yes, you did what he said perhaps for a moment, but guess what? He'll be happy until the next time that you are in a situation and, he's forcing you to do something that maybe goes against your convictions. So really the issue is you're in a relationship with someone that's not a supportive person and doesn't really care about your value, your worth, or even your child. Why would you want to be in a relationship with someone like that? And there's so many times where a woman will take the abortion pill and then she's dealing with depression and then she's dealing with emotional issues. So you might think, well, I can take this pill to go back to school. But then Monday morning you go back to school and you can't focus on your studies because you're feeling so emotionally overwhelmed with the fact that you just had an abortion. And so you just never know how life is going to turn out. We always applaud these stories of women who walk across the aisle on graduation day with their toddler, or they are a single mom, and then years later they end up getting married to someone and he adopts their baby. And we always applaud those beautiful stories, but it takes courage and conviction to walk them out. And in the moment of temptation, you might think, well, everything will be easier if I just do this, but it could actually be harder. And life is hard. So you have to choose your hard. Choose the hard, path of being a single parent, or choose the hard path of being a pregnant mom going to school, or choose, the sorrow and the pain and the regret of living knowing that you ended a human life. And that choice is one that you can't undo. If you leave school, you can go back to school. If you end a relationship, in most chances you can start a different relationship. But if you end a life, you could get pregnant down the road, but that individual life can never be replicated, never be duplicated, and never be reborn. And so that individual person is gone. And for women who've had abortions, they know that guilt and shame. And thankfully, there are healing organizations like Support After Abortion. But as advocates, we don't want anyone to have to go through that in the first place. So I would just encourage people to wait. It's worth it.
Yes. I co-sign everything she just said, and it actually reminded me, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, I think it was maybe like 2 weeks ago, that girl that was going viral because she posted a picture of her positive pregnancy test right beside her diploma, and she said, oh, I can't believe this is happening right now, like what am I going to do? And unfortunately, the majority of the comments were telling her to have an abortion. And I think this is where our culture, as other girls, I think this is where we come in as a culture, and this is where we say something. This is where we speak up to our friends. And, you don't have to go on a mic and say, no, don't do that. But you can, if you're having a conversation with your friend and they say something casual, like, oh, she should just go ahead and it's just $500. That's what someone said. Someone was like, girl, it's just $500. I'll send you the $500. If one of your friends make a comment like that, you can say something like, hey, that's actually, it's a little bit more serious than that. This is when we speak up. This is when we can say something about that. It was actually very disheartening. Myself and a bunch of other people on Twitter were like trying to offer like real advice. I honestly don't know what she did, but it was just, people just automatically were just like, oh, get an abortion. And also, we don't even know, like, she can say, what am I going to do? But that doesn't mean she could have just be expressing that. Some people have pregnancies that they just weren't expecting and they have no intention of having an abortion. It's still like a, oh wow, this is crazy type of situation. And
Right.
people were automatically just, oh, have the abortion. Wow, this is just have the abortion. Your life is ruined. Have the abortion. And I just think we need to be speaking up. Like I said, you don't have to make a big to do about it. You don't have to do the most, but I think this is really where courage comes to say something, because like Christina said, it does take courage to walk across the stage with a toddler, especially if you're in an area where you feel a lot of shame or condemnation for those things. It takes a lot of courage, and I think this is us as advocates, we can have courage to at least say something, because our culture is just shifted so much. It was actually shocking that so many, I don't know what I thought. I just didn't think so many people would be like, oh, have the abortion. It was crazy to see.
So I didn't see those comments, but I've seen that so many times on social media. Deion Sanders, the football coach, he has a daughter, Deandra Sanders, and she got pregnant out of wedlock. And it was the same scenario. I mean, she had some other things going on with drama with her boyfriend that was causing people to be upset with him, understandably. But her comment section was flooded with go get an abortion. In fact, people were angry, saying if you don't get an abortion, you're an idiot, you're slow as a turtle, was one comment. And she's got a lot of support from her father and her brothers. And so she ended up coming out and telling her story and saying, okay, this is why I didn't get an abortion. She said she struggled her whole life with pregnancy related issues, and she wasn't sure if she would ever be able to get pregnant. And so she wasn't going to abort this baby because she believed it was a miracle. And so when she said that, people were like, okay, we understand. But it's sad that she really had to dig into her personal health history, just to let people know, get off my back, like I'm not having this abortion. And I will say this about the woman that you talked about. Abortion is something very often done in secrecy. Although we see, shout your abortion campaigns and everything else, we're mostly white, progressive, liberal women. For the most part, abortion is something done in secret. People are not, by and large, shouting their abortion.
That's true.
And so for someone to go on social media and to say, I'm pregnant, what do I do? If they really wanted an abortion, they would have just gone and got an abortion. In most cases, even just bringing it up is undecided. It's, the young people say it's giving undecided,
Yeah. It's a cry for help, really.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what to do. And so when you see someone like that, you know that a lot of people are telling her something she already knows. She already knows she could get an abortion. And a lot of people are just affirming that. And all of that confirmation could lead her to go get one, or it could lead her to not. And I don't know what happened with her story, but I hope that she didn't. But that's a visual picture of what's happening every single day in our country, thousands of times.
Yeah.
And that the girls are not, sharing their story, exposing themselves to, hundreds of thousands of people and their opinions. But every single day, you've got a girl looking at the pregnancy test and she's thinking, what do I do? And maybe she's asking one or two people, like you said. So it's very important for us to be those people who are saying, you can do it. We'll support you. We'll find a way to help you.
Yes, I think it's also important, just to piggyback off of that. When you said that reminded me, I have two friends. One I think has already said it. Well, we're like social media friends, that had got pregnant and it was unexpected. And they told me before they told everyone else, not to like brag, like I knew before everyone else. And they said part of the reason why they told me because they knew that I would be excited. And I think we should all be that friend for our friends. Right. I think this is how we cultivate the culture of life. This is how we kind of help and support people. And, one of the girls was really nervous and didn't really know what to do and was trying to figure everything out. And we don't live in the same state. And I'm like, texting people I know in the state, trying to help coordinate things. And it didn't take like 16 hours to figure things out. It took maybe 30 minutes of my time just for a second. Okay, let me see this. And I think we should be able to be that type of friend to our friends. We should be the ones that, obviously there's different circumstances. So obviously, I think the first reaction, no matter what, should always be, oh, that's exciting. And then, if it's because of other reasons, you can discuss those, but the baby is never the problem. You can discuss how it happened.
Right.
The baby is never the problem. And that should be our attitude. And I think once we can have that attitude, it'll push over to other people, and then we can change the culture, because that's probably that is how we're going to make abortion unthinkable, as one of the things that they say. Like, that's how we're going to get it to that point, is if we ourselves are making sure that we're being the people who are excited when our friends are pregnant. Even if the circumstances aren't the best circumstances, we can still rejoice because a human life has been created. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
And we can acknowledge that too. If you're, if someone's listening to what you're saying and they think, well, what do I say if the person's conflicted themselves and I still want to share that I'm excited? There's ways to say, wow, what a blessing. Like, every child is a gift, and I'm so grateful for this life. I know that you may be feeling complex emotions right now around it, and I'm here to talk. So you can, obviously if someone's having an unplanned pregnancy and they're not sure or they're upset and you're like, congratulations, they might not feel like celebrating. To them, it's like, okay, well, yeah. But you can say, I know that you might not feel as excited as you could be, but just know that we'll get through this. And so you can show that empathy when you're talking with them. And that's all someone's looking for. That's all someone's looking for, is just that listening ear, that love, that support. And this is a Goliath, and it feels overwhelming at times when you're on these social media platforms and you see hundreds of people saying, go get an abortion. When I see in the Black social media sites on Instagram or the pages, like, abortion being discussed, and I'm reading through hundreds of comments and people are saying really pro-abortion things, it can feel really overwhelming. But every life that we save, every woman that we talk to, it's like a starfish that, the story of the starfish where the little boy's taking the starfish and he's throwing them back into the water. And the person comes and says, there's so many starfish all over this ground, you can't save all of them. But he's like, yeah, but I'm saving this one. And he's just in this one. He's throwing them back into the water. And so we have to have that mindset where, yeah, there are, 2,000 babies plus dying every day. There are, gosh, I don't even know how many pills being sent out through the mail and how many appointments being made every day. But that's why every single day we do the work that we do. We get on social media. We do our podcast. We go to the abortion clinics. We pray. We do our rallies. We go to Washington, D.C. We do videos like through Live Action. We do on YouTube and Instagram. We're sharing content because it's a daily fight. And we want to never lose heart because of the numbers, but know that every life saved is a victory.
Amen. I want to ask one last question.
Sure.
What should we do next, I guess, when it comes to the abortion pill? Are we calling our legislators? Is this something that can be a federal ban? Like, what do you think the next steps are?
Well, I think, all of the above in a sense, because God only knows what direction this will take. And so I would say, talk to your elected officials, find out what's going on in your own, particular state. I mean, in my state of Connecticut right now, they're even trying even more to harass pregnancy centers. And so it's very difficult. But in other states, you might have more willing elected officials who might want to talk to you. And so if you do, brainstorm with them as well and ask them, what can we do? There are initiatives to put the abortion pill on college campuses.
Oh, wow.
And so if you know what's going on in your state, perhaps you can try to prevent some of those things from happening, so to speak. And then I would say also, in addition to that, I would say to get involved with, community organizations, women organizations, pregnancy centers, where you can actually be helping women who are making these decisions and who are faced with unplanned pregnancies, aiding them and, you know, giving them support, because the battle on the ground is one of the most important things, as well as, like I mentioned before, creating content and trying to let people know the dangers of the abortion pill. One very practical thing that I can say would be Live Action has done a series of videos where we talk about abortion. We talk about what is abortion. And
I was
we
about to
have
suggest that.
former abortion doctors who share about the different procedure. So one of the things I would suggest is finding the what is abortion video regarding the pill and then sharing it.
I will link that, you guys. Sometimes I've had people message me questions, and I'll just send abortionprocedure.com. And honestly, a lot of times that's when the messages stop, because I think some people, A, don't want to see it, or B, they've never seen it before. And then once they see it, they, are kind of speechless. So I use that website a lot. And I will link it so you can learn a little bit more about what the abortion pill does, and, so you can just be educated on the topic. Thank you, Christina, so much for coming on. Is there anything you want to add?
I just want to tell people to be encouraged, stay hopeful, and balance out this fight with just having a good summer. Like balance out the intensity of, death and abortion and dismembered babies with, making sure that you're getting enough rest and sunshine and play and everything else so that you can go the long haul. As I mentioned in the beginning, to do this 20 years means that you have to be healthy in how you approach things, because otherwise, and healthy in the sense of not just you yourself, but also how you look at people, having a healthy heart. So
yes,
when I think about abortion doctors, when I think about the women who are having abortions, of course, I'm angry at the injustice of it all. I'm angry at the greed with the doctors and the way they're manipulating women. But my heart I've cultivated a heart of empathy and compassion towards them, understanding that they are blinded by the lies of society. They're blinded by our government and our leaders, what they've been taught growing up. And so having a healthy heart means that you can look at the injustice and the evil of it, but still love people and still recognize that people need Jesus, they need help, they need support. But if anybody wants to connect with me, if there's any questions that people want to ask me, check me out, Black Pro-Life Woman, on Instagram, on X, on TikTok, and on Facebook.
That's so good. I just really wanted 2 seconds piggyback off what you said about the balance. I personally have had to do that myself, like take a couple steps back here and there, because it is so much darkness. And honestly, like a lot of people who came up in the pro-life movement, I don't know how to describe it. It's like its own little culture. A lot of us I noticed we've had to do that, because you're so right about the heart thing, because if you are going to say that you're pro-life, and if you are going to say, well, more than anything, if you're going to say you're a Christian, you want to make sure you're also caring about people with love. And we're humans. After a while, your heart can get hard. And after a while, sometimes the sadness can be overwhelming. I had someone message me the other day, a couple months ago, actually, not just like the other day. Anyway, I had someone message me asking me, what do they do if they're starting to just get so sad looking at all of these abortion videos? And I said, well, you don't have to watch the videos. Like you can, like you already are pro-life. You can take a pause if you need to. Like you don't have to, you don't have to keep, for lack of a better word, traumatizing yourself. You don't have to keep doing that. So I do think it's really good to have like a good balance and remember that you are a human, and sun is good and important. So yeah, I will also link all
of the beach.
Yes, go to the beach, go on the lake, sit outside, watch a movie. Make sure you balance, and also have good friends that you can talk about other things with. And that's another problem some people get into, is all their friends are pro-life, which isn't bad, but that's all they talk about, or like that's what's the only reason why they are friends. None of them have anything else in common, but they're pro-life. So it's, expand, go join a hiking club or something. I will link all of Christina's social media, so you can follow her and, keep up with anything that's going on. Is there any event going on that you want to promote or anything like that? that's about to happen?
Well, the next one I'm going to is just for elected officials. It's a lawmaker summit that Live Action is having. But then after that, we are having a gala in October in California.
Ooh, exciting.
Got to buy tickets for it. But if anybody's interested in donating towards the cause and getting a ticket, we have a Live Action gala in October. And we'll have more events that in the coming months. You know, we had a youth conference that was not that long ago, and if they stay connected to me, they'll hear about them, so I'll share about them.
Fabulous. All right, everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you share this. I think this is a great episode to share with your friends that are pro-life, and then even your friends that are kind of like pro-life personally, but not really, you know, the teeter-totter friends. I think this is a really good episode to share with them too, because we also just shared facts about the truth, about what truly goes on in an abortion. So share this with your friends. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe, all of those things. And thank you for listening, wherever you're listening. Bye.